is a deck that, has a lot of resilience, has a lot of disruption, especially after game 1. So we'll see how things break down. I'll give a quick rundown of Charlotte's Bug. You'll see Forcible, Brainstorm, Abrupt Decay, Ancestral Vision, Jace, Liliana, Hemtatorac, Thoughtseize, Maelstrom Pulse, and of course, the creature suite of Tarmogoyf, Deathray Shaman, Charlotte's Agents, and Baleful Strix.
Yeah, so while a lot of decks try to, especially decks in the top 8, try to fight Sneak and Show by playing counter magic, your Dazes, your Spell Pierces, your Force of Wills, Charlotte's Bug goes with a different approach. It really attacks their hand.
Exactly. The only counter, like you said, is Force of Will. No Daze, no Spell Pierce, just 4 copies of Force of Will and a lot of disruption from Thoughtseize, from Hemtatorac.
Yeah, does he even have 4 forces in the main?
He does have 4 forces as his only counterspell main deck.
All right, so that at least he has that for game 1. Otherwise, he's going to be relying on Thoughtseize and Hemtatorac to do a lot of work.
Liliana could do some work. Even Jace the Mind Sculptor. So it looks like Kris shows a hand of all lands, was it?
I think that was 7 lands.
Yeah.
So a clear mulligan to 6. Boettcher is on the play, and he has kept his 7.
Yeah. Now, this is kind of dangerous for Kris. He is on the draw, and if he doesn't have a turn 1 disruption spell in the form of Thoughtseize or Force of Will, he's going to be in trouble for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there are some games, especially when Boettcher's on the play, where he can just simply win really before Kris starts the game.
Exactly.
The Charlotte's Bug deck is excellent at grinding out games, but sometimes it takes, 2 or 3 turns to get its engine rolling.
Yeah, I mean, if Kris wants to go turn 1, I'll suspend Ancestral Visions. There's a good chance the game's over before it ever suspends.
Right.
Yeah.
So because of that, Ancestral Visions is something he'd rather cascade into maybe than suspend.
Yeah, but if Kris was on the play, for example, something like a turn 1 Deathray Shaman would be pretty good. However, on the draw, he really wants Thoughtseize.
Okay.
So that's what I think maybe Kris is looking for. But again, with a 7-land hand or whatever it was, he's definitely not going to keep.
Yeah, he only plays 2 Thoughtseize, so he can't actually mulligan to the 1-mana removal spells.
Yeah.
Well, at least not game 1.
After board, he goes with 4, you're right. So we'll see how things play out. He does have 6, and he says, yeah, I am going to have to mulligan again.
I think that was 5 lands Ancestral Vision.
Well, he might have the Matt Costa syndrome, because we saw Matt Costa playing Jund yesterday. Although Matt Costa didn't win, and congratulations to him, he was drawing a lot of lands on camera.
Yeah, we had a fair number of mulligans, but it really didn't deter him too much.
No, it didn't. He was definitely determined to win. I talked to him around 4 or 5 yesterday. He says, yeah, I'm going to win the tournament. And he did. Today, I asked if he was going back-to-back, and maybe I kind of jinxed him on it.
He said, oh, you're not supposed to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I guess nobody talked about it for Owen because he pulled it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing with Kris's deck is it does look like, compared to some of the typical Charlotte's Bug lists, Kris has shaved a lot of the disruption. He's got 2 hymns and 2 Thoughtseizes in the board right now.
Sure.
I think that's more in the board than you'd normally expect, right?
It depends. It's the way you build Charlotte's Bug is pretty much based on the metagame. You could play a lot of discard. You could just play a lot more removal. You could want to play a couple of extra planeswalkers. It's really up to you. And no matter what you do with it, Charlotte's Bug will always be a contender.
Yeah, to be fair, there's only 1 combo deck in the top 8 of this Open. Kris just happened to get paired up against it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so he is on 5. We see a Tropical Island. I see maybe an Ancestral Visions. Regardless, he's probably going to have to keep. It's really tough to go down to 4 cards.
Yeah, he's keeping it, but I don't think he's very happy about it.
All right, so we're ready to go. There's
right.
Scalding Tarn.
Scalding Tarn will come down from Boettcher, and Brakke's going to suspend a turn on Ancestral Visions. You're right when you said we don't know if that card's ever going to come off suspend. It does look like Boettcher has at least 1 more land, and he has a Hymn to Turok, but his turn 1 play land cannot cast it.
Correcto Mundo. There's a Bayou, and it's a Beta Bayou.
Ooh, very nice style points there.
It really is.
So far, Boettcher has just played fetch lands. His hand has a Sneak Attack and an Emrakul in it, as long as with a pair of Force of Wills and a Soul land.
Ooh, that's pretty good now. There's a Verdant Catacomb, probably going to go fetch up an Underground Sea, and he could actually play the Hemtatorac.
Right, and if the Hemtatorac hits well enough here, this could be just fine for Kris.
Well, I think Jarrett's probably going to force will it, yeah.
All right.
Ideally, Jarrett would Spell Pierce it in Jarrett's Dream World, but I don't think he has a Spell Pierce.
Yeah, remember, next turn, because that Soul Land produces land 2 mana, Jarrett does have enough mana to play Soul Land, Sneak Attack, activate Sneak Attack, swing Emrakul.
Exactly. And I don't think Kris has a blue card. He does have the Force of Will, but I think his Force of Will, Abrupt Decay.
All right,
that's what it looks like.
If this is forced, you're saying there's a line for Jarrett to win.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, he does the first half. He goes for Force of Will. Let's see if he just runs out that Sneak Attack. I can't imagine he's not going to do it.
Well, again, even if Jarrett goes Sneak Attack, Emrakul Attack, it's not game over.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Emrakul will die that turn. Kris will be at 5. He'll have no permanents.
He'll draw some cards.
Yeah, the Ancestral Visions actually helps him mitigate that.
Yeah, I think lots of times, you know, even some more of the skill players, they might, oh, Emrakul, yeah, I lose, but you actually don't. Kris is on 19 life. The only damage he took, I think we're going to update that for you. The only damage he took is from that Verdant Catacombs. So I believe he's on 19. Yep, there it is.
All right.
So, yeah, he would be at 4. And if Jared just bricks off, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, the thing is that, especially in a matchup like the one against Sneak and Show, 4 isn't really very different from a lot of other life goals. What it means is that he can only crack 3 more fetch lands, and like he probably can't cast his Thought Seizes anymore, but 4 is a reasonable enough number.
Okay, so Jared bricked off the first draw. It's only a Scalding Tarn.
Okay.
There's a Sneak Attack.
All right, and here comes
There's
Emrakul.
All right, so I'll go to 4.
All the permanents gone.
I'll sack my 3 lands. I'll sacrifice my $500 Bayou.
Is it really that much?
I think it is, yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, and we'll see what happens here.
All right, Kris Brakke's going to have to draw some lands. The unfortunate part is the cards left in his hand are Abrupt Decays, which are nearly dead in this matchup.
Okay.
Right.
I'm pretty excited because he just ripped that Verdant Catacombs like a champ.
Step 1.
Step 1. So Jared has to break off. So if you're a hater at home of combo decks, you're hoping for the Charlotte's Bug to, you know, pull out a pretty tough one.
What Kris would really like to hit here would be a land and a Brainstorm. He could replace those Abrupt Decays with real cards and really stabilize.
Yep. All right, so draw number 2 here for Jared. Let's see. It's
another Emrakul.
No!
Oh, and there we go. Game 1 goes to Jared Boettcher.
He shuffles his deck and then just draws an Emrakul, just like that.
I don't know about that. And he got his opponent to cut right to the Emrakul.
Yeah, all right. Well, Jared takes game 1, and we're going to come back to the booth. Why are we coming back to the booth?
Well,
to see your pretty face?
To see, yes, that is the main reason. But while we're here, we might as well do a giveaway.
Okay, so this is going to be for 3 months of premium.
All right, so 3 months of Star City Games premium online here. We are looking for, and this is something if you just joined us, looking for a specific card. Okay. We are saying, what commander set card is in 5 of our top 8 decks?
And we just gave away the answer. This is like me teaching a class.
Yeah.
I give the answer. They still get it wrong on the test sometimes.
This is the first question, right? This is the ones you're supposed to get. And then later on, you get the regular ones, and then you have the challenge one at the end. So we're going to, for 3 months, we got the one you're supposed to get.
So what is the commander card that is appearing in 5 of the decks in the top 8 and is worth a lot of money? You could actually trade 10 of these cards for that Bayou, that Beta Bayou.
It's worth that much right now?
It is. It's worth $50.
Oh, man.
That's good.
Doesn't it MSRP for less than that?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, make sure you have the hashtag SCG Premium on your answer to be eligible for the giveaway.
Sure.
We will announce who wins after all of the top 8 matches are finished.
And it's not so much the prize you're winning, it's the pride in it.
Yeah,
you know?
The pride of that the lottery chose you of all the people who submitted something.
All right, so good luck to everybody out there. We'll go back to the match. Jared is on the left. Kris is on the right. Kris almost pulled out of that game, surprisingly. A multi-5.
Yeah, it was, well, he had, I think what's more, maybe not saying he almost pulled out, but like he had play, you know?
Oh, he definitely had play, yeah.
A lot of times you'd say, oh, he made the sneak attack, he put the monster into play. It's fun in that situation. Emrakul is actually probably less threatening than Griselbrand.
Sure.
Because it's so hard, you know, with Griselbrand, Jared can be like, oh, I'll draw 14. Yes, I have another swing next turn.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's take a look at the sideboard here. Kris has a lot to bring in. He's probably going to bring in those Thought Seizes, the Hemta definitely those Golgari Charms, right? What do you think?
Well, the Golgari Charm,
right?
so yeah, the reason you bring in Golgari Charm is because it can blow up an enchantment.
Yeah.
That said, Jared really doesn't bring out an enchantment until it's about to kill Kris.
Exactly. So does he not bring in those Golgari Charms? What do you think? It's definite Hemta, definite Thoughtseize.
Yeah, so when I've played the matchup before, what I found is that it's really, Shardless Bug can't put a really reasonable clock on Sneak and Show. You know, the creatures cost too much to tap out for. So what he tries to do is he really just tries to destroy Jared's hand and then win almost coincidentally with like, oh yeah, and these Death Threat Shamans I played, shock you, shock you, shock you.
Okay.
So he wants almost as much disruption as possible. Golgari Charm seems fine because if you're tearing up Jared's hand, he might make a play like run out a sneak attack just even if he doesn't have the monster because he's like, oh my gosh, I have to get this out before you steal it.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you're like, well, now that you played it, Golgari Charm.
Sure.
So I do actually like it out of the board here.
Okay, what do you think he's going to sideboard out? Because Abrupt Decays are pretty stinky, but what happens if Jared brings in Blood Moon? So is he going to just rely on Death Ray Shaman? He could cast spells with Death Ray Shaman. But I mean, who knows? We'll leave that up to Kris to decide.
I almost would say you still board out at least some of the abrupt
Oh,
decays,
for
if not
sure.
all of them.
Yeah, you might want to leave him like one abrupt decay.
Yeah, some of the cards that I actually found to be weaker in the matchup are cards like Shardless Agent.
Okay, just too slow.
Yeah, I
doesn't
don't really
do
want
too much.
to pay 3 mana to tap out for something that isn't being disruptive.
Okay.
Because the dangerous turns in this game are turns
Like
1
3 and
through,
4.
like almost 1, 2, 3, 4. That's
Yeah, I mean,
like-
1, they're just kind of setting
Okay,
up some things. Probably 3, 4.
3, 4. So it's like if Shardless Bug can make it to turn 5 alive,
okay.
then they're in business. So the problem is like Shardless Agent doesn't help get you to turn 5 alive.
Okay, that's fair. That's definitely reasonable. Jared, is Jared going to bring in anything besides those Blood Moons? What do you think about the Divert? Divert's got to be pretty sweet against Hemtatoric, right? Oh,
Yeah.
Hemtatoric, you all diverted back to yourself?
Yeah, Divert is very
Yeah, Divert's
Divert's
very
really
good.
good against discard suites. So yes, he'll bring in the Diverts.
Swan Song?
Sure.
Yeah, Pyroclasm?
I
Probably not. I mean, it only is really going to kill Death Ray Shaman if you're thinking Charlotte's Agent's going to get cut.
that's not the plan you want to be on. I don't think.
exactly. So,
Yeah,
we'll-
Blood Moon, Swan Song, Blood Moon, Divert, possibly Swan Song, possibly Flusterstorm. The question is how many cards Jared
Yeah.
actually wants to bring in.
And there's really no right or wrong way to sideboard. People say, oh, here's my sideboard guy, you play this deck. But in general, sideboarding really comes down to how you feel. If you're feeling lucky,
Well-
you might sideboard one way.
I would say there's a correct way to sideboard, but it's different for different people. Like, it depends on how you plan to play the matchup.
Okay.
And you should, sideboard appropriate for the plan you want to take.
Yeah, my friend Andy Boswell, he plays Rug Delver. We saw him on camera. He defeated Reed Duke. Came pretty close to top 8. His plan against Mono Red Burn is he boards out his 4 Wastelands. So he's
Alright.
playing Rug Delver, so he's boarding out his 4 Wastelands.
Boarding out a ton of lands.
Yeah, he is. And he's just boarding in a bunch of counter spells. He's boarding in like Flusterstorms and something else he had in his board, and that's just his plan. Oh, an Ancient Grudge he brings in. It's really weird.
So Ancient Grudge, what does Ancient Grudge even hit against Mono Red?
I have no clue, but I'm pretty sure he said Ancient Grudge.
All right.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't think that card has a target.
I don't think so either. I kind of wish he was right here so we could ask
Yeah,
him.
I mean that's really going deep. I would say to board in that.
But he was actually like running around, not so much running around, but he was very happy. He said he actually just beat Mono Red with Mono Red's own Sulfuric Vortex. He's like, the guy plays Sulfuric Vortex
and then dies in 10 turns.
and then yeah,
And then some, then he throws a lightning bolt
yeah.
in there.
It
Every
was
once in a
actually
while.
it was actually against a girl round 1. So,
Oh man,
I don't
It'll
know.
be like that'll teach you to play Sulfuric Vortex.
Yeah. So we'll maybe get Andy on camera after this.
Yeah, that is.
Why do you bring an Ancient Grudge, or why do I think you bring an
Yeah,
Ancient
but
Grudge?
what
in
I
this
think is
matchup?
like a lot of times you can also approach the matchup from the Rug Delver side by saying that you want to race the burn deck as opposed to being the control deck against
Yeah.
burn. And if you're doing that, then I think your sideboarding plan will become different. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's wrong.
Yeah. I mean, but again, it's people sideboard how they want to sideboard. So Kris and Jared both got here sideboarding the way they wanted to sideboard, and we wish them both luck. We'll see what happens here. Oh, it's Ensnaring Bridge. That's
Okay,
why.
you can't hit a snaring bridge
Yeah.
out of the board. All right.
Yeah, and now that who was this? Alex tweeted at us.
Yes.
And now that Alex said that, I do remember Boswell saying they do try to lock you with the Ensnaring Bridge. They try to go Ensnaring Bridge like Vortex or Ensnaring Bridge and a lot of burn.
Okay.
All right, so it looks like Kris is going to keep his hand. Jared, 1 by 1. He's got a bunch. I think he has like a couple of forcibles in his hand. All right, so they both agree to start playing Magic.
All right, this time Chris Brakke will be on the play. He starts off with Underground Sea. No Thought Seas, so I presume there's going to be a Hymn to Turok at the very least, maybe with one and a Liliana coming out.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see what happens. Jared plays a Scalding Tarn here.
Yeah, Jared has a hand with Emrakul, Force of Will,
Ponder.
and lands.
There's a Hemtatoric. Does he have the
Alright.
Divert?
Yeah, he doesn't
No,
have to
he has
divert.
the
He's going to go
Force of Will.
force pitching force.
That's pretty good for Kris.
That's just fine for us. I'm wondering whether it's better or worse for Jared to discard 2 random there. I guess
I guess he's worried about the Ponder.
Yeah, the Ponder's if the Ponder got hit, that would be
Yeah, it'd just
extremely
be-
bad
okay,
for Jared.
because Ponder's is only real card manipulation here / card draw. So it looks like Kris's hand is actually not terrible. He has a follow-up with Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, so what is good about how Jared's playing this is that
what?
when he has something like Ponder in these fetch lands, he can control the top of his deck really well right now.
That is
Which
true.
is actually what he wants to do in this matchup because he's so vulnerable to discard that he'd rather store his hand on top of his deck for the majority of the game.
Okay.
And I do like that he has all these fetch lands with Ponder to do that.
Yeah, all right. So let's see what happens here. Kris will shuffle up Jared's deck. And Jarrett will almost certainly lead off with the Ponder here.
Yeah, I mean, that's why he played the fetch land and then
Yeah.
cracked one to cast Ponder.
So we see Misty Rainforest, Show and Tell, Lotus Petal.
Well, that's pretty good here.
It is. I mean, if the Show and Tell is going to actually resolve, it's really good because you can Show and Tell Emrakul.
Yes.
And the only thing Kris really has to do to deal with that is the 2 copies of Liliana of the Veil.
So Jared's going to draw the Lotus Petal, probably play the Lotus Petal, and then he's going
Pass
to
turn.
leave that Show and Tell on top of his deck until he's ready to use it next turn.
Okay, there's a Polluted Delta drawn here. I kind of think the Ancestral Visions... he must have left in Charlotte's Agent because he can't have Ancestral Visions without Charlotte's Agent.
Probably not. I mean, you can play some number of them, I think. You know, he still needs to have the disruptive game plan, and he wants some way to close out the game. So, like, once you have... Say he had another Hymn to Turok here right
Okay.
now, then the Ancestral Visions is pretty good.
Yeah.
But you're right that the card, like I said, it has that problem that up until turn 5, it's not a card.
This is pretty interesting. He actually Abrupt Decayed the Lotus Petal.
I like that play. I think
Well,
I actually am a fan. Say he thought that Jared was on Sneak Attack instead
Yeah.
of Show and Tell this turn. That could be really damaging. That could set him back a whole turn.
All right, I think Jared's just going to go for it right here.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
not going to get any better. Kris will attack his hand mercilessly the longer he stays in.
All right, so Kris has 1 turn to draw Liliana.
Show and Tell. Does this work?
It's going to
It's gonna
resolve.
work.
Yeah.
Tarmogoyf versus Emrakul.
All right, here it goes. Do you think Kris is going to hit his 1-outer? Or, well, his 2-outer?
Kris brought a land to swamp to Show and Tell. Jared brought a Emrakul.
Let's see. Is it Liliana?
He has He has a 2-outer. Plus, also Brainstorm could do something,
Oh,
and it's
no.
gonna miss.
It's just the Verdict Catacombs, and that's it. All right, good game. And, Jared moves on to the top 4.
Yeah, Jared Boettcher playing Sneak and Show. The deck can be so powerful.
Yeah, really.
I think ever since the printing of Emrakul, and now with the printing, especially second printing of Gristlebrand,
Yep.
I think Show and Tell has just become